Hello and welcome to the Heresy Lodge. I am your host, Dylan Cooper, the constant host over here.
Gavin Franklin.
Guys, we're here this week to kind of give a preview of The End of the Death Volume 1. I say kind of because we are only 100 pages in, and a lot of this is probably just thoughts that we just have at the top of our head so far.
Yeah, and also what I'm expecting, and maybe some weird things I saw on the character list. So lots of interesting things could potentially come out of this, but maybe nothing interesting at all.
This is all very, very plausible with us. But before we get into the episode, as always, hit us up on our Discord. Find that pin to our Twitter at Heresy Lodge. Email us at theheresylodge@gmail.com. Check us out on YouTube at the Heresy Lodge. It is the season of Christmas. Buy you and your loved ones Heresy Lodge merch. It will make everyone happier.
I can just imagine little child opening up the beer mug hat.
Oh, thank you, Daddy. This is what I always wanted. You say,
There's a lodge member
goddamn
right
right.
there. What are you drinking today, Dylan? I talked about my beer before we started filming, so I'm curious.
Well, my beer is better than yours, unfortunately for you.
Not hard to do.
So got another one from a good old Ryan Guys Brewery from Cincinnati, Ohio. And it is called Beer for Humans. The reason I picked this was because I've never had that because I would remember something with such a stupid fucking name. It's an okay beer. Stupid fucking name. Very okay beer.
It's called Beer or Humans?
Beer for Humans.
For Humans. I like it.
It's fucking dumb.
I love that name because it makes me think. Is there beer for other things?
Yeah, obviously there's beer for bears.
It makes me think that there's
beer for dogs. I know there's like dog beer you can buy.
I think almost like extraterrestrial. Like I think there's like an alien back there making beer, and like they just want to be very clear about what kind
this is for your fucking kind, all right?
This is very specifically for humans. I think Ryan Guys did a very good job with that. I'm impressed.
I mean, their like little logo could be like an alien skull if you look at it enough. Like that's not a human skull.
That's interesting. Is Ryan Guys the front for the extraterrestrial in the United States?
I mean, it's very, very possible. I mean, if you're trying to be undercover, what's the best way to do it? Make beer. No one's ever going to think you look weird if they're drunk.
They've got a little bit of a hipster vibe going on too, and I always felt like the whole
aliens would be hipsters for sure.
It'd be super hipster. Yeah,
it's like they're like trying to just like fake it, so they have to fit in.
Like Portland's a bunch of aliens, but like none of them know that they're aliens. The other people are aliens, so they're just like out hipstering each other every day to try and prove that they're more human.
This makes sense. We've connected the dots.
It's all adding up.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
Oh, so I'm in the process of moving, as you guys on YouTube might be able to see the boxes behind me. So that's all wine. It's all taped up. It's all boxed up. All of our drinks are boxed up. Unfortunately, I didn't plan ahead. So
shocker. All
I've got left is the Advent beers, but it is a different beer. This one's the worst beer I've probably ever had in my entire life, and I'm trying to chug it to get through it. And you'll know exactly why. Cookies and cream porter.
Ooh, that's like the opposite of your alley.
This is the worst. Now, luckily, I've got a Hellas in the freezer.
Yeah, you're not a dessert and beer type of person, which I get. I'm not a big fan of it normally either.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is like your worst fucking nightmare.
I just don't understand.
Especially cream, like cookies and cream.
Yeah, why is cream in your beer? Like, that's just weird to me. Like, eat cookies and drink beer, but don't put the cookies in the beer. Like, that's not what beer is.
I was at a beer festival one time and there was a milkshake beer.
I don't trust
it. It was beer and it tasted like a milkshake. And I'm gonna be honest, it was fucking good. It blew my mind because I was like 100% sure I was gonna fucking hate it. And I drank it and I was like, what the fuck? This doesn't make sense.
certain beers, just by the name or the concept of the beer, kind of make me like just gag at the thought. Dragon's milk.
That one's gross, actually, though.
I've been to the brewery. The brewery's really cool.
Well, the Dragon's Milk itself sucks ass.
Yeah. Well, when I think of the name, because it's a darker beer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think of sucking on a dragon's tit.
I mean, that's why I tried it.
And
I
then
was
I
like,
start
this is what I've always
thinking,
wanted.
yeah, I start thinking like, what do tits on dragons look like? And
And then I'm walking around the brewery and I'm hard and I don't know what to do.
but that's what's so weird is like I actually think of it more like an udder system when I think of dragon's milk.
You know, I've seen enough dragons, and I'm sure it's just like they have a natural just rack. I don't think they have an udder. I think it's a full rack.
I think if dragons had tits, it would be an udder. I think it would be an udder.
I think the udder would be too much. You know, it would like hit the ground and stuff. Like they were like laying down and shit. I don't think. I think it's got to be hard scaled.
That's true. It depends what type
It's
of
like
dragon.
Skyrim, like obsidian armor on the
Yeah.
tits, and like
Do
the little like,
snakes
nippies
have
just stick out.
do snakes have udders? They don't have
I
udders.
don't
They're
think
not
snakes
big.
have
They're
udders.
not
I'm
big.
pretty sure snakes just eat snakes.
Oh, yes. And then I think of there's one beer. We're talking about beer. This is now a beer podcast.
Oh, I thought we were talking about tits.
It's a beer
And
and
animals and their tits.
animal tit podcast. Um, what's the elephant beer? You know what I'm talking about? It comes
Oh,
in
they're
like
like
the
it's like
white.
Indian, right?
Yes.
I remember I got that for us like one time, like randomly. It
Yeah.
was like a 6-pack, like make your own. And I put that in there because it was super expensive. I was like, it has to be good. And it
That'd be
was
great.
fucking gross.
So bad. That made me think like I was drinking out of an elephant's tit. And I know they have them. And they're udders.
I've never seen an elephant udder. Are you sure?
Let me Google.
Are you sure they don't just
Elephant
like
udders? Udders. Udder location. Oh, they got udders.
oh they got udders?
Not udders. Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh
This
no.
is wild. Elephants have udders, but they're just like regular boobs, though. Check this out. I'm about to share some
You're on
elephant-
YouTube. I'm sorry.
Let me get all my work shit off of here.
Where you got any PHI on there?
Look at, do you see this? They're just tits,
Wow, those are just tits.
but they're
I mean, that's
udders.
how I imagine a dragon.
They do have udders. Dragons would have tits just like elephants.
It makes sense to me, yeah.
This is what you're drinking out of when you drink dragon's milk. Look at this, dude. They straight up have boobs. Holy
We are now Animal Planet.
This is wild. How did I not know this? How did I not
I've
know
never stared at elephants long enough to look, I guess.
that?
I always look at the dong. I never thought about the tits.
I was always the dong. Why was I not looking at the tits the whole time?
Missed
Maybe that
opportunity. All these zoo trips.
it says a lot about us. I don't know. I always feel like I'm not using like an incognito window. So last weekend when we were looking up Lotara,
Oh yeah.
we were looking at all of the like fucking
The waifu.
internet images of Lotara. And I was sitting there during work. I was like, I'm about to share my screen and Google something. Should I be very careful? I don't want them to think Lotara muscles.
That's why you don't use your work computer.
So that's all I have. That and this big ass old computer. I thought about it's actually right here. I was thinking about how I'm going to transport it, and I realized, what am I doing? I'll just carry it like I do every other time I go somewhere.
So you've been doing for a decade. You might as well keep
Doesn't
doing
even
it.
have a dude. The amount of dust in this thing. If I tilt it too much, shit will come flying out. I know it, but oof. So in the death.
The Ending of the Death, Volume 1. We
Why?
are both around chapter 16, 17, which you would think, wow, you guys have really been reading. Joke's on you guys. Chapters are 3 pages long. We've had so many discussions about like chapter length, and Dan must have heard. And he was like, those guys are fucking right. 3 pages. We're like, oh, a little too much, buddy.
He had to have been writing this when we first started the podcast, or at least almost.
We are about to hit our 3rd year.
Let's find out. In the Death Volume 1 came out
A year ago.
this year, February 2023.
So he's probably only been writing it for a year and a half.
Yeah. So maybe Dan chimed in, wanted to know the Heresy Lodge's thoughts. And Dan, you took it too far.
You did. You took it too far. Also, what the fuck is this book?
What's happening?
Like, I understand that there are different authors writing on these books. So, like, a perfect segue is kind of hard to do. But I have a feeling. And ADB kind of wrote this in his afterward, right? Like, he knew like how his book was going to end. Like, when they get to this spot, like, this is like the end of my book. In that meeting, Dan would have heard that conversation. And you know what? Like, I feel like should have happened. The end of the Death Volume 1 should open to what happens after the closing of the gate. Instead, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Not at all. Like, we've read over 100 pages and like, I don't, like, nothing's happened. Like, not a single thing's happened.
No, the story has gone literally nowhere.
It's very abstract. Like, there's no storyline. There's no linear or circular or any sort of story.
Malcador's talking to himself.
Horus is talking to Missandei, but you don't actually hear Missandei's words, so it's just Horus having one side of a conversation.
Yeah, and we also know that he never actually picked Missandei as a remembrancer for him. He had that one chick who was like royalty, who was his only one.
Mm-hmm. That he killed.
Yeah, that he killed. Cut her fucking head off.
Maggart is the guy. Was it Maggart? Maggart?
Something like that.
Here's what happens, guys. I can't stand Games Workshop. I just don't like them. I don't like them as a company. I think they make bad decisions all the time. Like with their game, with their books. And it's incredibly obvious to me that they had this insane opportunity to write one of the best books, potentially of all time. The End of the Death would have been amazing. But for some reason, they're like, hey, you know how all of these movie studios are making 3 movies out of 1 book? What if we made 3 books out of one? Because then you could have 9 movies.
That we're never going to let happen.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, there's so much fluff. Like, as much as Dan probably wants to say he's making the setting, we're on books like 75. Like, the setting's there. Like, if the setting hasn't been established.
Yeah, even if you only want to kind of like as the siege, this is book 7 of the siege or book 8.
Depends if you count the short stories.
Sure. So we'll say 7.
Yeah. Plenty.
Everything's established for the siege. We are here. This is the last book in the siege. The last one. Supposed to be.
Yeah.
We don't need backstory anymore. We are at the finale.
We don't even need setting. It frustrates me that we have so many like weird scenes of people that we've never met. So I don't know why we're
the character list is like there's an entire page of custodians.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Why?
Most of them are supposed to be dead.
Yeah, give me like Valdor and the other guy.
The other guy. I'm pretty sure there's like another one
from the last book
name,
that
like
walked into the room full of people that started stabbing him.
it's just all this. I don't know. It just seems like we lined up to bat, and it was the perfect pitch. And as we were swinging, Games Workshop was like, "Wait a minute, what if we could get way more money out of this? Let's pause this, fill up the seats, and then miss the ball entirely." It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Um, and you have the scenario where all of this is taking place in the Palatine.
Yeah. Why are we going backwards?
Yeah, the Palatine's been overran. All that's left is the palace. There is nowhere else. But now we're like, oh well, there is like still people on the Palatine. And I'm like, how big is the Palatine? It can't be that big. Like, oh, it's enormous. But at the same time, you have scenes where they're looking around, they can see the bastions. I'm like, well, if they can see the bastions, it's not that big. Like,
Yeah.
everyone would be dead if demons are literally just spawning everywhere. They can spawn anywhere. They can just go. There's endless amounts of them, an endless horde. We literally saw them take up an entire 500 solar systems in Storm. Why is this a fucking wire? Why
So
is there
many dicks.
so many dicks? Why is there a battle at the Palatine? Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's so frustrating because like every single book that gets released makes the previous book less valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense. Like you said, we're on book 70 something at this point. And that's if you read the Horus Heresy. If you didn't read the Horus Heresy and you only wanted to read the Siege, like whatever. Either way, everything's established. This is the end. We should be ready for Sanguinius versus Horus. Hell, Rogodorn versus Horus. I don't care about what the fuck happened of Horus in the past talking about him becoming War Master again and having apparently what he's telling Olton is not the same as what we read in the book.
And here's the thing too, like I'm fine. I'm totally okay if you want to have moments like that. But the downside I'm already sensing is every moment is that because there's not enough material to progress. What do we know? What do we know going forward? Here's a spoiler warning. Fast forward however long. I don't know. To skip this. This is what we know going forward. We know that Malchador dies.
Yep.
By sitting on the golden throne. We know that Horus kills Sanguinius. And we know that the Emperor kills Horus and they make it onto the vengeful spirit. That's where all this takes place.
Yeah. Which is, I still think it's really fucking dumb that the Emperor goes to the vengeful spirit.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very interested to see how they make that a thing.
This whole fucking thing has been Horus saying, I'm going to go down there. I'm not getting off this fucking chair, but I'm going to get down there. And it turns out it's the Emperor that gets off his fucking chair and goes up
But I'm
there.
gonna fucking come to you. It was literally just a stare off. That's the whole reason the Emperor hasn't gotten up. It's because Horus isn't getting up. He's like, "You first, bitch. No,
that piece of shit.
No, you come to me. No. You come to me." They're literally just having
So
like
stupid.
a testosterone
Literally,
stare.
we are 70 books in, and it's just been two men sitting in chairs.
What's remarkable to this whole scenario is the remaining lore in all of the context, literally all of the context. Like you could add together every single piece of lore that was created by Games Workshop or the Blackwater Library previously to the Horus Heresy, previous to the Siege of Terra, regarding the remaining amount, right? Everything we've been through already. You'd probably total 40 pages, maybe, and that's a stretch. And that's stuff that's repeating itself, right? Yeah. Like you could literally sum up everything that's going to happen in a page. There's probably going to be 2,000 pages written about that page of lore,
which is stupid.
That's larger, I believe, than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's insane. I just don't know. I don't know like how to justify any of that. I don't know how they justified this. 1,800 would be the largest amount of pages in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Sorry, I got muted there. That includes The Hobbit, which is an additional book. Tolkien built fantasy. The entire concept of fantasy that we know it today, what built D&D, what built World of Warcraft, what built the Horus Heresy, the whole concept of fantasy in 1,800 pages. And we're about to get more than that to describe a page of lore. It's miserable. You're muted. I can't hear a thing you're saying.
Fuck, I muted myself too.
There we go.
But yeah, it's not fun. Like, I don't understand why we're dragging this out. Like, I don't understand the Dan Abnett love. But yes, we are only 100 pages into the 600-page book, followed by another 600-page book, followed by whatever's left.
700, more than likely.
I should not take more than 100 pages for me to be like into a book.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the last book of a series.
Yeah.
I don't want a bunch of backstory when I start this. I want the last book ended with the fucking Sanguinius taking out a fucking greater demon, ripping out Angron's fucking nails from his skull, throwing it down, and walking through into the palace with the gate closing behind. Fucking awesome. What did we get when we opened this book? I don't even fucking remember because it wasn't interesting.
I remember the scene with John Grammaticus. We can't really trust the Alpha Legion, can we? The Alpha Legion's like, probably not. 4 pages.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then Malkador talking about painting things on walls, which were the future. It was just like, what is fucking happening?
Oh, I don't know. It's so frustrating. It's very frustrating. And like, it's here's the thing too. Dan Abnett, we know Dan Abnett is a good writer. We've liked his books, all his books. There's no book that Dan Abnett has written that we have said is a bad book. We liked Legion. We loved Horse Rising. We liked No Fear. Prospero Burns was great. Like, he writes good books. The problem is Games Workshop handed him a fucking turd and said, do your best to turn this into a less smelly turd. Like, actually, he had the best
opportunity. Was he handed a turd? He was given the finale. Like, this shouldn't be a turd. This should be the golden toilet.
What I'm saying is, I don't think it was Dan's decision. If it was, then Dan loses all accreditation in my book.
I think it
is. To make it 3 books. To make it 3 books?
I think it has to be.
That would have been, that's whoever made the decision. It was such a bad idea. Like, you have a great book's worth of it.
The afterword is going to be, I planned for it to be a 2-parter, but I just couldn't finish it in a 2-parter. I had to make it a 3-parter.
I hate that.
And it's going to be, why did we do this? Like, could we not have streamlined some of this process? Like, finish up the Remembrancers, give me Katsuhira storyline, Sanguinius, Dorn, Horus. That's it. Really, we have 5 characters left that we care about how Malkador ends. Sure.
Yeah.
6. 2 books, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. It's super frustrating. And when you consider, I mean, like, the entire series was already like, it wasn't amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there were points.
There's a lot of shitty books.
There were points in the series was like, this is good. I love this scene. But to me, like the nail in the coffin is just the sheer amount of abandoned plot lines just kills me. I'm like, how can you consider yourself like a good series if you just literally forget about things? And it's because there were so many authors and there was a direction that was such a massive scale that we knew we were going to get let down by these scenarios. But then to top it off by saying, let's extend this out, this whole thing was extended out well beyond what was necessary. It's taken us 3 years, and we read a book a month.
No,
A book,
we
two
read a
books
book
a
every
month.
2 weeks.
Jesus Christ, we've had 2 books a month. Took us 3 years. And they're like, they have the audacity.
That wastes more of our time.
Let's do even more. That's fucked up. I'm pissed about it. I hate that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why things like Game of Thrones, one author, probably until he dies, and then someone's gonna finish a book. Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, one author. Like great series normally only have one author for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then normally if someone else is like taking the mantle, it's because the previous author died. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened in like Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that's what happened. Another person finished it out. Well, here's the thing: if you want to do multiple authors, that's fine. But the issue arises not in having multiple authors; it arises in having multiple authors and a corporate infrastructure that doesn't believe in an end.
Yeah, I
Everything
kind
that
of
they do
wish
turns
that
out money.
we knew how each author like was compensated. Because in ADVs afterward, it talks like, like some authors are on like word count, some are in sales, yada yada yada. I would be curious to see that information and look at those people's books.
That is interesting.
Because I mean, I guarantee you, what's his face was paid for how many times he said fucking Spear of Telesto and Sword of Incarbine.
Yeah, no.
Like
We need to
he
move
was
some
getting paid
sanguineous
each
models.
time.
Listen, every upbeat and sanguineous model cells that we get after this book releases, we'll give you 5%. That's a really weird writing strategy, but all right. Oh fuck. I just recently watched a Major Kill video. You know who Major Kill is,
Yeah.
right? Major Kill's okay. I have no
He's a
qualms.
Dark Angels fan. He fucking sucks.
Yeah, here's the thing. So he just released a video about Sevatar. And Major Kill's videos, in my opinion, that he talks about lore is almost like never really backed with anything that's actually in the books.
Well, it's probably in a codex that no one cared to read.
Exactly. And it like a lot of it's assumption. So like one of the thing that kills me, and I see this in a lot of fandoms, I see this in 40K a lot, and I think it makes a lot of sense as to why. But when everyone is like, oh, Sevatar has autism because he doesn't get along with people. I'm like, well, maybe he's just a Night Lord. Like, I feel like Night Lords
This
in
is a
general.
guy who him and his little brother were eating fucking birds to stay alive. I don't know if autism is the problem right now.
There's
The problem
like
is he
the
grew up
story
on
is so dark, and like at no point in time, other than like
he
literally
ate
saying
other people to stay alive at one point.
exactly, like literally other than suggesting that like he has a hard time connecting with people, which I feel like would happen if you grew up on Nostromo.
Yeah, if you were a psychopath, you probably have problems.
Every Night Lord, I see it a lot like in The Lion too. Everyone's like,
The
oh,
lion actually might have autism.
is autistic. I think it makes sense. But to be fair, like all of it is just like super hearsay based off of like interactions. And in reality, like the text supports way more that the lion is just really stupid as a person. Like, it's not that he doesn't grasp things, he just like believes that his solution is just better than everyone else's, and it's not.
I mean, narcissism.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, it supports he's the textbook narcissist, but most of the Primarchs are at that point.
That's
But I digress a little bit. The reason I wanted to bring up Major Kill's video about Sevatar was because like I wanted to watch it. I'm like, is there something? Because I don't plan to read a lot more. Does Sevatar ever make a reoccurrence? I'm sure Major Kill does enough like research to know this. He does not. Prince of Crows is like the only thing about Sevatar, and a couple of the other short stories with him in prison at the Dark Angel ships.
the bullshit.
But this is something that Major Kill did do that I wouldn't. So super mad props for this. He looked into ADB's social media accounts. And based off some previous questioning, it is highly suggested that Sevatar does live through the Horse Heresy and that he was not a part of the Grey Knights founding.
Yep. Oh, okay.
And that in reality, he is actually going to play a major role in a future storyline in the Sundering. Sundering? Is it the Sundering? I always mix up. This is the Severing, Sundering, something like that.
You can say whatever you want, man.
Yeah. Which is post-siege, which ADB saying that makes me think that there have already been conversations for years about the very long-term scenarios at Black Library and how they can plan to continue past siege, which sucks.
Yeah. But I mean, not a surprise. I mean, there's still like several books like I would like to read, and at least like if it's like one a year, that's fine. I could read one of them a year.
Now that I've read books and I've played the game, I've realized that as a fan, you really need to appreciate Warhammer for what it is. It's a setting where things are loud and dangerous and big, very big. So there's no answer. There's no canon. There's no canon in 40K, like, or Warhammer in general. There's no canon. They don't want there to be canon because they want to be able to retract everything.
Which they do often.
Many times. Like there's no finality. Finality. You know what I'm saying?
Finality, yeah.
So what you really need to do if you want to enjoy Warhammer is pick an area in the Warhammer lore you're interested in and just have fun with it. Treat it more as a setting. And I definitely wouldn't read the entire Horus Heresy. I definitely wouldn't read the entire Siege. I would read the parts that I think interest me. Because to try and approach it like a canonical series or try to approach it like a story, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to feel very open-ended about things. You're going to feel very taken advantage of, especially your time when it comes to trying to reach an outcome as a reader.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
So what he's saying is read something else.
Yeah. I'm okay with like the idea of saying, oh, I'm going to like read Eisenhorn because it's what, like 4 books?
I think it's a trilogy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I read Eisenhorn, Gone to Ghost,
Ren's World.
Yeah, like I want to read the Night Lords.
Omnibus.
Yep. There's there's several books I want to read, but it's also like you just got to know like nothing is gonna be like sequential.
Yeah,
it's not gonna amount to anything.
It's just a fun story. Yeah, it's just a fun story. Like you're not reading like a beginning, middle, and end. You're just reading a story that takes place somewhere in this universe.
Yeah.
Same thing with like, I mean, Star Wars. It's very similar to Star Wars
Yes,
in that
Star Wars
sense.
sucks.
Star Wars sucks more than Warhammer, and we're gonna get a lot of fans that get really pissed about that statement that I just made. But Warhammer's bad, Star Wars is worse.
Star Wars is so bad. Like, I really want to like Star Wars. Like,
Mhm.
the universe is cool. Lightsabers are cool. Everything else about it fucking sucks ass. The movies aren't great. There's been some good video games. There's been a lot of shitty video games.
Battlefront 2 is phenomenal. Star Wars Battlefront 2.
The OG Battlefront,
OG Battlefront 2. Phenomenal.
Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. Man, when I could make my own fucking lightsabers, I'm just sitting there swinging my double-sided like I'm a fucking Jedi fucking master, bitch. That was
That's
cool.
good. That's fun.
But man, there's been a lot of shit out there.
A lot of shit.
Battlefront 2, the newest one.
The problem with Star Wars is the fact that like it's become less of a, again, it's not a story. It's not a finite story. It's all over the fucking place now because it has devolved into a what's what I'm looking for. It's a marketing thing. It's a universe. It's what's happening to Marvel. It's no longer like, oh, this is what's happening in the Marvel universe. It's more along the lines of like it's an IP that you can attach to something to boost the sales. And it's similar to what's happening to Warhammer, but I think Warhammer is more protective over its IP compared to something like Marvel or Star Wars, which is like you're literally gambling every time you fucking throw the dice to make something.
Yeah, but they also do like super cool things like make Warhammer Plus that no one subscribes to.
I haven't heard about that in years. It's been, well, about a year.
No one cares.
I haven't gotten an
Literally,
email about it. Did they drop it?
it's been out for a while. But I guarantee you, if Henry Cavill shows good, they're going to see an uptick in stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm very pumped. That's the last kind of holdout I have for Warhammer. I'm gonna keep collecting and the miniatures. I'm very excited to be back in Indiana because I feel like we're gonna play quite a bit more.
I hope so, because I played 0. I
Yeah,
played 2 games of 10th, both of you. Maybe just one.
I haven't played since 10th or since Seattle. It's been months,
Yeah, I haven't had time to like
half a
finish
year.
building my world eaters.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I think I hit a bit of a slump whenever Connor gave me back the Death Guard, and I had to paint those, and I hate Death Guard. So,
That's fair.
opened up a second beer.
Oh, what's this one? Oh, you
This
said
is
it's Hellas.
the Hellas.
Is that
Fucking
also
great.
from what's its face?
They're all from the same brewery, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it in the beginning. Minhas.
Yes, you got all Menhas. Give me how's the Hellas?
It's great. I love Hellas's. This is a phenomenal house. Some of them aren't phenomenal. I've had some I'm like, this is just kind of like a little bit better than American lagers, right? Because I don't mind American lagers. I Bud Light's not great,
No.
but I've had beers that are way worse.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean,
And
like I feel like
Hellas,
the Hellas you had from Primeval was just like fine.
it's better than Bud Light,
Bud
which in my opinion, like if because
Light is
you,
like my first like shit tier.
yeah. But the thing is, you go and taste a lot. If you taste a lot of beers, any person that's making beer at home, like that's gonna be worse than Bud Light. And a lot
Maybe.
of these,
I mean, there's a lot of shitty beer out there, right?
there's a lot of
But Bud
shitty
Light's
beer.
pretty much there. It's water.
It's pretty much there, but it's not. Like it's like it's beer. So you're like, okay, I can drink a beer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like,
It's
you want
consistent.
flavored water? Do you want beer?
Yeah. So like a Hellas is like, okay, we're gonna take that Bud Light and we're gonna turn it into something that is more beer. And it's gonna taste good. And some of them are gonna taste great, but the bottom line is a lot higher, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And that's why I like Hellas. because I'm not gambling. I've had some really fucking bad amber beers.
Man, stouts and porters, man. Those are like you're throwing a fucking dart every time.
Or IPAs. I mean, all IPAs taste the same, and it's just like, what am I in that mood? Probably
Yeah, the
not.
only like I like hazies. I like a good like blood orange IPA, but like if it gets warm, I can't drink an IPA like room temp.
Yeah,
Like, like if I get like one at dinner, like I gotta drink it because if it gets warm, it's fucking gross.
fair, fair.
Yeah, so that's the end of the death. We talked about elephant tits.
Talk about
Chicken
elephants.
tits.
That was a fun one. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see more about the end. The problem is it's really hard to do a review preview over a book that doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
It's
I mean we're previewing really read the
yeah.
last book and none of it matters because this book started.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the only like acknowledgement is like a meet is like, wow, Sanguinius is cool.
It was like that shit was fucking nuts. You have me crying at the top of the wall. And I just imagine like, sir, are you okay? It's like that was the most beautiful thing.
He
I
fucking
killed
ripped
so
out his nails with his hands and it fucking destroyed it. That monster thing that kept resurrecting.
I killed so many fucking people. It was awesome.
I bit a guy's face off.
Yeah. Oh,
It
we're
was
all gonna
fucking
die,
sick.
but I've killed so many people. Man. Well, I'm starting to think more and more about what I would like to do after we're done with the heresy. We'll definitely sprinkle do some Warhammer books, and hopefully when I get up there, we'll be doing more tabletop stuff. But I would really love to kind of explore some other series that are more complete. Like I'm kind of craving an end to a story
Yeah.
that's reasonable. Like if I looked at a 10-book story, most people look at a 10-page series, 10-book series and be like, whoa, that's huge. I'd be like, oh, thank fucking God.
Honestly, yeah, like I would actually like to finish reading Game of Thrones if he ever finishes the books.
Yes. But I feel the same thing there. Like these authors are so fucking scared to end things. Like fucking give me a conclusion to your story, please. Jesus Christ.
Yep. Um, I want to read the Witcher series. I've read the first book. I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Um,
I really do want to read Lord of the Rings at some point. I feel
yeah, I
like I'm
want to read
doing a
Lord of the Rings.
disservice to myself to not read that.
Yeah, even if I don't like it, I want to read it just to say I did it.
Wheel of Time is like 13 books. I don't know. I might be wrong on that. It might be like 25, but still like nothing in comparison.
In comparison, yeah.
Um, I've heard really good things about. I've heard the Malzar story, Balzar books. I've heard they're phenomenal.
I
I've
don't.
been doing a lot of research into like good fantasy novels, so it's a little less sci-fi. I think I kind of want to do more of the like high fantasy shit, but I don't know. I'm also good for sci-fi, like Dune. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I'd read Dune.
Also not finished.
Oh, never mind. Not reading Dune.
Well, here's the thing about Dune that's interesting. He planned to write, I don't know how many books, let's say 8,
Yeah.
and he wrote 7 and died. However, there's this crazy conspiracy out there that he actually only planned to write 7 because the book kind of ends in a way that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like
Whatever.
it. Yeah, so it's like works for me. But yeah, the Wheel of Time, Dune, Game of Thrones, Warhammer, none of them fucking ended. Like, guys, figure your shit out. Aragon just released another fucking book.
I never read any of them.
Yeah, I've read I read the first 2 when I was like a little. Well, there were 4, right? There were 4 of them. I think there were 4, or the first 3, and then he took 10 years to release the last. Some stupid amount of years. I was like, well, fuck. I'm not going to wait that long. And then by the time it released, I forgot. So I tried to read it I got super far ahead of you during Angel Exterminatus.
Never heard of that book.
So I tried to read it and I got about halfway through, bro. I was like, fuck, I gotta read Horus Heresy again. So
Cool. Well, I think that's it for us, guys. We'll be back next week with probably a part 1 review. Maybe it goes better than how this went. I don't know. But we'll see. Hopefully you guys had a good Thanksgiving. We are coming up on holiday season, so we might end up just having a special. I mean, our 1 year is coming up, so we'll see what happens. As always, though, hit us up on Discord. You can find that pinned to our Twitter at Heresy Lodge. Email us at theheresylodge@gmail.com. Or on YouTube at the Heresy Lodge. Check out our merch. Buy yourself something nice for the holiday season. And have a good one, guys.